If I say tapped your hand, you get the signal comes up your arm, brain registers it, my hand's just been hit. What they found is that the signal was coming from the brain and then matching prior to the point being touched on the hand. So the signal's delivered from the future.
Well, the signal's not delivered from the future, I'll tell you that one.
It's not my freaking experiment.
In fact, I don't actually believe in future or past.
I'm sure we can both agree that an atom is 99.999% space.
Well,
you speak on the Earth wobbling and axis flipping. This is actually encoded in the Great Pyramid.
No, I don't think any of that's encoded. I think it's just...
So who built them? Who built the pyramid? Irrespective of what you've said in this conversation around the status quo, I have a different view. I think you have been targeted.
Oh, I know I've been targeted. I mean, the whole narrative from 2015 is a complete fabrication.
As an entrepreneur, we don't feel very safe walking into nChain, and we should. It's like when you say statements like, fuck the community.
No, 100%. It's not about a community. I want a technology that will help the world. Look bigger. Stop thinking that it's about us. It's about everything, everyone. That's what I'm trying to say. This whole crypto community thing is making in-groups.
Okay, so in that regard, I will agree with you. Fuck the community in that sense, because I'm not talking about a crypto community. I'm not talking about Ethereum community, Bitcoin community, Bitcoin SV community. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about us as a global collective on this one boat that we called Earth.
Well, fuck that too. I don't want to be a global global connective. I mean, I'm definitely not collectivist. I'm not fully individualist either. I believe we need a balance. If you read something like Conservatism by Russell Kirk, that will give you a closer idea of where I am.
Why? I'm sitting here. I can just ask you, right? So to me, based on like what again, shoot me down, which you won't have no problem doing. Patents, invention of Bitcoin, where I see Bitcoin going, AI, hyper automation, nChain's business strategy. You're, I'd imagine, probably still firing on 3 cylinders. Do you want the world to work for you? Is kind of your end game.
Fuck no.
But how do you see it not being any other way? If this is successful to the scale in which you're articulating, I'm saying 20-year time frame.
Oh,
right?
20-year time frame, I would have finished putting together my plan.
But how does the world not work for you at that point, Craig? And trying to tell me that you don't find that intellectually stimulating.
I mean, I will have things that I will align. I mean, I have plans for a lot of the money that I have. And unfortunately, there's a lot. There's a scary freaking amount. But
I see that just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I know, it's worse than scary. But education's a big part of that. And as much as many hate a good, old-fashioned, classic Western education, rationality, truth, means of understanding and finding out things, all of the anti-postmodernist concepts. So fuck Foucault and everyone who's one of his followers. Not everything has to do with Marx. Not everything is a power struggle. Not everything is equal. Not everything should be. And the most morally reprehensible concept is equality of outcome, because then all you're doing is crushing everyone, because none of us are equal. And if we have to be equal in everything, that means that guy who's a really good writer, we stop him being able to be a writer.
Yeah.
And that guy who's a runner, we stop him running. That guy who's a basketballer, we stop him playing basketball, etc. Nobody ever achieves anything. Nobody has anything that they're good at or can be proud of. That's the end goal of that.
But you will be making a fee on every interaction that happens, irrespective of what it is, right?
No, I won't.
That's okay. Well, that would be a good thing, right?
Tile is a miner, and I've got some interest in Tile. And miners will make fees, and other people might be better than me. I mean, I tried to tell people how this works, and they keep ignoring me.
And that works for you. right? And that's good, especially because you're not sitting there twiddling your thumb doing F4,
Well,
right?
No. I mean,
forward.
I'll do this anyway, but I could sit there and tell you nothing. Instead, I actually sit there explaining how all this works and how to beat me. And I give you the next 10 chess moves that I'm going to make, and you ignore me.
But not everyone's ignoring you, Craig. That's the thing. I'm not ignoring you.
Well, good.
To which I can see, yeah, you're giving me 10 pieces, but you're holding another 10. Right?
Can't give you everything.
Exactly. And you shouldn't, right?
It wouldn't be fair. I mean, then that'd give you nothing to work for.
No, 100%. Like, I have no issue with that. But this conversation is about your polarity, right? Which in all of my assessments, irrespective of the angry Aussie moments, I've always had you down as one of light, period. And no matter what I've heard you say about fuck community, this, that, and getting angry, for you to stand and keep fighting in this arena for as long as you have after birthing it, whether you're saying fuck humanity or whatever not.
Oh, no, I'm not saying fuck humanity. There's a big difference. Definitely not saying fuck humanity.
But to me, it looks like you're willing to die for us. That's what it looks like.
Well, then I won't be able to do anything more. So, I mean, the problem with martyring myself is I'm gone. And what I've already realized, if I disappear, someone will turn me into a false religion. I mean, there's already been two different churches of Satoshi, neither of which had any ideas that I believed in.
There'll be coins and pumpkins.
Yeah, so no, I don't want to martyr myself at the moment because someone will take everything I've said and twist it, and I won't be able to correct them.
How real risk is that in your household?
That I'm going to martyr myself?
Not you wanting to martyr yourself, but that real risk. Craig, is that a conversation you've had with your wife? Is that a conversation that ever happened?
So what real risk?
Just a risk on your life for your work and what it is that you're doing.
Oh, I do everything I can to stay healthy. Unfortunately, my wife tortures me with way too many vegetables.
Try to get you down that vegan route.
Yeah, and hides all the good food. Luckily, I can get away with food she doesn't like mushrooms and truffles and that sort of stuff. But that's healthy enough, so she doesn't care. So she does all these things to try and keep me going, despite myself. So,
nChain patents, right? The strategy that you've taken, I'm hyper thankful for. Because Microsoft, IBM, fuck knows who else.
No, they're the easy ones. I wouldn't worry too much about them so much. I'd worry about Bank of America, some of the Chinese companies, plenty more to worry about them.
Are you concerned or worried? Or do you feel like you're way ahead in terms of being able to protect the intellectual interests of Bitcoin?
It would be nice if people started to understand my stuff a little bit more and listen to me. I try and watch what's happening, and the majority of people are still stuck in these false ideas about Bitcoin as sort of this radical decentralization tool that will destroy governments and banks. And
so, what do you want them to really listen on? When you say wish people listen to you more, what exactly in particular?
I want some real competition. I mean, at the moment, we've got other companies started, and I'm doing other things as well that don't fit and align with.
So you want competition at a protocol level? You want other competing protocols out there?
No. I want people to actually compete with me at a higher level, like nChain. nChain's going well. I mean, we've got hundreds of staff now in multiple continents. Not that anyone actually realizes. Everyone looks at Coinbase and goes, wow, they're big, and Christ, we're bigger than them. I mean, you can throw shit on us all you want, but that's not changing the fact that we're growing, and we're growing faster, and no one's out there competing with us.
So just what basically different ways to skin a cat on Bitcoin, right? So then that company's competing with you. So, Craig, there's a better way to do it, or this way.
But they're not competing at all. They're doing the same old thing that existed 100 years ago. They're creating more bucket shops and making short-term profit. And the thing with bucket shops is gone.
Yeah.
People sit there going, you can't disappear. This is too big. But yes. I mean, the whole industry isn't as big as the industry was 20 years ago. It probably will be in a couple of years. But even then, that disappeared overnight. So why
is the music going on for so long?
It always does.
BS.
Until it gets big enough that government has to take notice. And it's not there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire cryptocurrency sphere is maybe 2 milliseconds worth of currency trade globally.
That's perspective.
And I'm not exaggerating. If you look at all of the dark pool trades, the other sort of interactions, it's not what you net every day, it's what moves. So everyone's sitting there going, so much money. Well, it's not so much money. It's not a lot of money at all. And we're not talking value. We're talking like trade and daily trade volume and things. We're up there with millet.
Okay. Yeah.
Most people wouldn't care about millet unless they're feeding cows. So we're not even a major commodity.
So with the patents then, if something that you've mentioned a couple of times publicly, but then this is what I'm saying, you said this publicly a few times about if you're in SV, then you come to nChain and there's free licensing access, right?
There are for some things and whatever. So I haven't said everything that we ever do will be free. No. But there are a lot of different aspects of what we're doing that are. Some of those have been released in sort of dev packs and other things that we've created. And a lot of the foundational areas have been put out that way, which is an enticement to be able to get you to build on this platform. And that, of course, is something I want to see. I mean, if it was purely in my own self-interest, I would probably tell you to go use BTC and keep pumping it until I dump. Because the ridiculous part is that's actually worth more of my wealth these days than anything else. So.
Do you regret some of your statements around BTC and like the trading aspect of it? Because like the iceberg orders, all of this stuff. Then you just I haven't heard you speak on dumping since then, and you just said it there. Is it still the intent?
I'm not saying my intent. I've said possibilities. And as a greater than as a significant holder even of commodities, legally I'm meant to make people know these things could happen.
I assume that was the case. That's why you was making
when I
these
choose
statements.
to do something is my choice. I'm not going to tell you that one.
Can you just text me like a couple minutes beforehand?
Yeah, I'm ready to short. No, sorry, I'm not going to help you.
Put your short on, it's going down. But you did say on valuetainment, BTC hitting 100K. And we're getting closer to it. Are you still confident on that statement?
I still don't think it will. I think people are pumping as much as they can, but I think it's slowing down and it's going to hit. And when it hits a problem, they're going to hit a problem. You've got to remember that the next halving is going to kill a lot of the BTC market. And by kill, I mean...
When's that due, the next one?
2 years. Yeah. 2 years isn't long.
Yeah, it's real.
And people are going to start panicking a year before that. So COVID and a few other things.
Why would they panic a year before that? So a year from now, why are they...
They're going to start realizing it's coming. Right now, they haven't thought about it.
Well, what's going to make them realize that? Because they haven't realized anything else, right? So why would they realize this?
Because people will start actually looking at a year from now going, we've only got a year to fix this. And there isn't a fix this. On top of that, there will be court cases that will be already won.
How is that going, by the way? So not the Kleinman stuff, the Bitcoin copyright.
Oh, that's all going really well. I mean, I find it a bit stupid from the media people going that I've been forced into court. No, it has taken me years to get these little weasels into court.
So copy, right? Is how to reveal himself. Cobra.
So I sued them. Isn't I've been forced. I mean, no one forced me
to sue them.
I chose. I mean, there's a slight variation here. And the other idiots won't go into our strategy or anything like that. Well, they'll discover just how stupid they are.
Are you kind of enjoying that aspect of things now?
Getting there. The lawyers have slowly started to understand Bitcoin. Still have facepalm moments where they still go, oh, but this is not what you said. I'm going, no, they're two different things. Facepalm, yeah. So, but they're far less. It used to be like 6 or 7 face palms a day. Now we're down to about 1 face palm a month.
That's progress.
So
that's progress.
That's real progress.
So unpack the technical aspects of what can go down. So say court case goes the way it is that we all anticipate and expect and are routing for. So you will now own naturally what you should own, the copyright to the name Bitcoin. What does that mean in terms of the statement you made around, say, some coins that were stolen from you?
Oh, that's separate. Stolen coins will still happen. I have a problem of not sort of thinking through other people's thought process. I have Asperger's, so that's something that remains a flaw with me. So I assume people have my knowledge all the time. And what I've done to correct that is I have other people that I work with who basically try and tell me when I'm being stupid, and no, other people don't understand that now. So I need other people to tell me.
You always mention it as being a flaw. Do you really see it as being a flaw?
Oh, it's a plus and a minus. I mean, it's the same with Superman is powerful, but he's also kryptonite makes him go wild like a baby. Yeah. And so a little tiny rock, well, poor Superman, yeah. I mean, simultaneously, it gives me strengths when it comes to logic, mathematics, things like this. Apart from some aspects of that, I'd make a good Vulcan. Just become a bit more stoic. And I have problems with ignorance. If I can get over those in people and understand, it'll be fine. So with your last question, though, is, I mean, it's both a plus and a minus. I can do things that other people can't do, but equally they can do things I can't do. Which is, I mean, my wife and I make a good team because she gets people and I get logic.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You got a good team right there.
I mean, Kirk and Spock, she can do the Unity type bits, except she's more attractive than Kirk.
So unpacking not the copyright ones, we did that secondary. So the moving of coins.
So going back to that, the error people make is, and as I was saying, I forget certain things. Like I worked in an accounting firm. So I even came back and the first time I did business and accounting stuff was 40 years ago, close. Oh, no, 30, I was a kid, but properly doing it was 30. And we still had pieces of paper. We still had to fill out forms. Even when I did my College of Law trust accounting, it was still, this is how you fill out the form. Now, most people don't have any experience filling out a double ledger book. And they don't know anything about how general ledgers work. They use computer software. I think anyone under the age of 40 who's even an accountant wouldn't remember. All the kids who grow up today do it digitally. And that is a flaw. That's an understanding that they don't grasp. When you have a paper ledger, it's set in stone. You can't go back and scribble things out or change them. The whole purpose of doing it on the paper was that if you make that scribble, then the other side, then the other side, then everything needs to be changed. So what people would do is they have an addendum, and you can alter the ledger, but reference the change. And you can do that on blockchain, of course. The only thing that would stop that would be if it was a cryptocurrency, if it was encrypted, hidden, but it's not. It is a triple entry ledger, which is a double entry ledger plus the ability to store external signatures, validating people, so that you can link the same way if you want to link a point, you need an extra dimension. So if you want to have a 3-dimensional point, you need 4 different points to reference it. If you want to ensure your double entry book is the one double entry book, and I don't have a Bernie Madoff 3 sets of books, then I have an external point. That's what triple entry accounting is about, that proves this is the only ledger.
So what's the sequential order of events? You file a court order and you say this needs to be rolled back?
No. There's no rollback. So that's what I'm saying. That's the error people make. You don't roll back. You append.
Yeah, you make an edit. So let's say you had 1,000 coins stolen in this way, and then it was amended. Those 1,000 coins are 10 are in Swen's wallet, and they're split between other people in this room, but they all need to go back to you. So what happens to all of these other people who own those coins now, who weren't involved in the original theft, but now they're owners of those coins?
Well, then they should have watched the alert.
And when you say alert, what does the alert look like? What do you do when you receive the alert?
I mean, in the white paper, it talks about how merchants and others will want to be able to run nodes so that they can receive alerts. So people say the alert key was never an intended thing and it was not part of the protocol. But clearly I mentioned it in the white paper. So just because I hadn't got all my code working when I released it, it's a beta. Now, then it became an alpha. I mean, like everyone who releases code, you have really cruddy code at first and you improve it. So the alert key will let everyone know and potentially freeze instantly any transactions. So you have a theft. First thing you do is you put something out, you tell the police, this has been stolen from me. And of course, the way Bitcoin works is every UTXO is traceable. So it doesn't matter where it goes. Now, the rules of mixing have existed for a long time. So there's 2 things, mixing and following. Following is the simplest. If it hasn't been mixed into other UTXOs, then that's a pure following exercise. And it's just completely that is stopped. Under the rules of mixing, if it has been mixed with other UTXOs, other coins, then it's a percentage on each of the coins. So this is where people think mixes are a good thing, are wrong. If you are legitimate and you've used a mixer and you have tainted coins, the law is already in place. Too bad. That simple. Too bad. So if you are given an alert and you ignore it, then you don't own that money. The law says that if you receive the money commercially, i.e. a commercial exchange, not a gift, without notice, then it's yours. So if I don't bother telling the world, putting out an alert, then I lose that money. So say I had that theft happen and I've not done anything public. It's all secret. It's all in court cases even now. I hadn't a year ago went out and made statements and someone had spent that money, that could be theirs.
So when did you put out the...
Right after it happened.
Brilliant. That's chess.
So now if you... some of the money has been sort of already put through exchanges and things. The police are actually following up with those exchanges who are starting to be a bit better now that they're seeing other exchanges facing criminal actions.
So what do you guys do in that? Because I can't, like for instance, chain analysis, they're not great, right? So in terms of forensics, etc., they're really not great. There's nothing, to be honest, there's nothing revolutionary there. I was actually quite shocked when I realized just how basic what they're doing is and how everyone's going for it.
It's like all the stuff you see out there going, this was said to be owned by blah on Reddit. And this person signed a key at this point in time. Well, no, you can't sign a key now and say you own it. You have to sign a key in the past. I mean, otherwise someone steals a key or transfers a key. And that was the whole Dread Pirate Roberts thing. It wasn't really him. He just took over Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, sorry, it was really him.
Yeah. This is now getting really interesting because obviously it affects what we're doing, our model, things that we're thinking about. We have our solvency solution and privacy solution. There is utilization of UTXOs, particle swarms, mixing. And this is why the conversation started off with prior is, look, I need you to look at this shit, Craig. Like I'm not comfortable really going to the point of getting it out there until I have the main man look at it, right?
Well, the thing is, you need to be able to act on alerts and notifications. So if a freeze order happens, you need to be able to act on that straight away. Banks do right now.
I think that's the relatively easy bit.
Exactly.
To be honest, that's the easy bit. It's the arrangement that we've gone down, the recipe that we've taken in order to perform the function, to be the world's first truly transparent solvent institution. And I really just want to walk into nChain's offices and say, Craig, look, like, I think I'm kind of there, but I'm not really sure if we're super there yet. We want to be involved, but I don't want to have this weird, awkward conversation around whose patents this, that.
Why would you? None of this. I mean, if you're talking about things you're patenting and whatever else, then you don't want to be telling us because you don't want to put them at risk, unless we've got contracts in place. I mean, that's nothing to do with our patents. That's to do with your own. And you don't want to give a patent away to me or ruin your own patent because you talked with me.
I know that's a conundrum, right? But
what you want to do then, I mean, but you can set up discussions under NDAs, and you don't need to make everything public.
Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna get too into this, right? Because cameras are on. But there's been multiple times where we tried to interact with nChain, yeah, and then the trail always goes cold because like we get to this area where it's like, oh, this is interesting. Then the words like fucking NDAs and stuff come up, which we say it. They're like, yeah, we'll never sign an NDA. So it's like, okay, you're not gonna sign my NDA. Then you want to talk about your NDA. Well, why the hell am I gonna sign your NDA? Right? So this is awkward BS. And this is why I really wanted to have this chat in person.
Yeah, but
how do we get around that?
I didn't invent the way the world works.
No, you didn't. I'm not saying that. That it is what it is, but I'm saying, how do we get around it?
If I had to redo the law, most people would probably hate it, but I would love it. But unfortunately, common law isn't something that is Craig's law. It's not Napoleonic code where one person got to say this is what we're doing. It's the wisdom of the ages instilled over many, many centuries of trial and error. So one part of what's come out of that is protections like NDAs. So
do you want to sign my NDA and I can show you my paper?
Well, I'm not the one who signs it.
Right, let's do some questions from the community, and then I'll go back into a couple other subject matters. This is a good one. So this question comes from Peace in Virtue. Okay. Since you've picked the name Satoshi, Craig, from Pokemon, what is your favorite Pokemon?
That stupid little spiky thing. I can't remember its name.
Stupid little spiky thing. There could be a couple of those.
I know.
Oh, what you talk? What, the starfish one?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. What is that called? Okay, challenge in the comment section. Tell us what the starfish Pokemon is. But that is Craig's official.
You can figure out reasons for it.
Do you know what? I don't want to call BS on this because I've asked you, I think, twice, and you've been consistent twice. But for some reason, I still don't buy the whole Pokemon story, Craig. All right? Because I run your name through Gematria, Satoshi Nakamoto, right? I know we had a conversation about 3, 6, and 9, and you're Edison, man. I'm a Tesla guy. You think Tesla's a fraud. I think Edison's a fraud. But it's fully baked in there, right?
Well, Tesla's a flim-flam man.
Edison's a flim-flam man.
He sat out in front of cameras and did shows.
I think he's a freaking fraud. And I think Edison's a fraud in the same way that Mark Zuckerberg today is a fraud.
No, Edison actually did trial and error and fucked up. Edison was probably Aspergery like me. And the difference was people liked Tesla. Really liked him.
Until Edison helped destroy him, along with like JP and the big banks.
He destroyed himself. Tesla wasn't the inventor of all these things he said he's invented. If you looked at half the things, I mean, the people who worked with him, it's like Elon Musk and Tesla. Elon Musk didn't invent Tesla. Elon Musk bought a company. And he has no idea about any of the battery tech that he's always talking about. He's a marketing guy. And Tesla was a magnificent marketing guy.
Really? How can Tesla be deemed a marketing guy when he was pioneering or channeling, rediscovering mathematics that...
What mathematics did he rediscover? There's no mathematics by Tesla.
Sound, frequency, and vibration. So Tesla comes from a standpoint of geometry is sound in motion.
Yeah,
sound
and none
is geometry
of it
in
is
motion.
valuable. I mean, it all sounds it all sounds wonderful until you actually look at it, and there is nothing there that is not from Maxwell or one of the others. There is nothing original in anything that he has.
So why haven't we cracked bidirectional gravitational control? Why haven't we cracked these things?
Because there isn't bidirectional gravitational control.
So why do we have monolithic structures and archaeological discoveries, digs, pieces that say different? Why
but they don't.
has the government come out and said Roswell?
Because they don't. I mean,
what do you mean they don't?
What you're saying about sound travel,
Dude,
we can build that now.
There's even footage of this stuff now. The government's even come out officially recently and said, yeah, we've confirmed UFOs. These are triangle-based.
No,
Yes, they have. Thank the Lord for the iPhone, right?
Not everything that you see on social media is true.
No, I am not a mainstream media fan. This is even being confirmed now by mainstream media, which I think is questionable.
Roswell. It is not an alien site.
Well, so just because something crashed there doesn't mean it forever now is going to be an alien site. I know they have their little cafes and stuff.
I've been to the base. I've been inside there. It has no aliens. There is no alien anything.
Right. You can research this when you go back, right? But are you saying your official stance, we've massively segued now, are you saying your official stance is UFOs don't exist,
No.
gravitational control?
I don't know if UFOs exist. They haven't been here.
Okay, so you thought they've never visited Earth?
Well, if they have, they went, Christ, this is a shithole, and zoomed off.
All right, and that's Satoshi Nakamoto's official stance on the subject of UFOs.
Well, if you think anyone who can come across the galaxy, which is physics beyond anything we can even imagining, is going to stop here and go, and think we're more than an insect, then that's a problem. I mean, basically, they're going to stop there and look at and not go, wow, look at these guys. They've got art and science. They're going to go, no, bunch of monkeys. Keep going.
I don't disagree with that, right? But then why do you think it's even a far-fetched thing that we are not the, say, penultimate example of intelligence just because we achieved a 5-star formation and we're self-aware to assume that men like, say, Einstein, etc., Maxwell, Gödel.
Because if you actually look at the time frame for the development of life and intelligence, we are likely to be on the very cusp of early. So everyone says, oh, there's been so long. Actually, it's been rather fortuitous for all of this. The age of the universe is very young compared to what it will be. We are in the early phases. Yes, lots of stars have gone. None of those would have had planets that could have sustained life. We are at the early stages of something that will have all different types of matter after the collapse of other stars. And yes, there could be something 1 million years before us somewhere in the galaxy. And that will be potentially more advanced, but only potentially. And even if they're in a different galaxy, there is a chance that there is no travel between galaxies ever. Not all this interstellar stuff or that people talk about, not wormholes, not any of these concepts. None of that travels faster than light anyway. So the reality is, if it's going to take you 4 billion years to get across galaxies, no one's come across galaxies.
And so that's on the basis that there is no portals. We're not in this cosmic web. There's not all these filaments in space connected through the different respective stars. It's just, we've got light speed. You travel across at light speed.
Filaments of what?
Well, energetic filaments.
But the problem people have is they keep thinking that entangled particles mean that you can send information faster than light. You can't. You read even in science magazines where people say, oh, scientists have managed to send information faster than the speed of light. No, they haven't. The collapse of particles may be instant, but there's no information transferred.
How so? You say that statement almost pridefully, right?
No, I say it truthfully. It is pure, testable, basic. There is no information faster than the speed of light. Full stop. There is no examples of it. There's no. Everything that we can look at in the universe is the same physics, all billions of light years across.
I think a wonderful person I would love to introduce you to is Nassim. The conversation, Nassim Haramein, conversation you two will have will be very interesting, incredibly interesting, be heated.
Well, if he wants to go on about multiverse, I'm sorry, I'm not into that religion.
Well,
and it is just religion.
I've been in his lab, right, and seen what it is that he's working on. It's all over Unity related, over Unity propulsion, magnetic propulsion, and magnetism. So gravitational control, bidirectional gravitational control is what he's working on now. But making something levitate isn't that difficult, to be honest. A bit of argon gas to write composition,
it's
write
not
geometry.
Really levitating. It's balanced on a force.
What is the force?
The same force that you're standing on the ground.
Being?
So you're standing right now. You're not falling through the ground. So why? Well, it's the same force.
But what is that force? Because, okay, let's go back to the earlier part of the conversation. 99.99% space, an atom, right? So this thing that I'm standing on that you're telling me is force, right, is predominantly empty space. So I'm interacting with the 0.0001.
It is a bit more than just saying it's an empty space. Yes, it's an empty space, but if you're looking at...
There's no such thing as empty space, by the way. It's just how things are coined.
Well, you can't actually say there's no such thing. One particular way of looking at the universe is there's no such thing as empty space, but that's only one particular way of reading the theory. I personally think that there is a fluctuating, God knows what the hell it is, string of God knows what the hell it is. Mm-hmm. And the only way to put this is God knows what the hell it is. Yeah. And I don't want to state too much because literally 95% of the universe, we don't even know what we don't know.
And I think that's beautiful, by the way. I think that's what makes education interesting. That's what makes, if you do believe in reincarnation, interesting because you get to extend out your lifetime.
Well, this is why totalitarian governments will never work and why the conceptualization of we will be able to plan the future is all a lie, because it all comes down to innovation. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. And he was actually a moralist and ethicist. He made the comment that talking about these sort of things about invention. And he was saying the reason we can't plan inventions is to say we will plan inventions is to make the invention. And he gave the example, I think, was from Russell, mathematician, which is if some caveman bureaucrat sat there going, in 10 years, we're going to invent the wheel. And someone said, so what's a wheel? Oh, it's this round thing with an axle and a hole through the middle so you can, and describes it. And then the other guy goes, but you just invented the wheel. So you can't plan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I'm picking and choosing what to really unpack and go into, but there's so many examples, even in my own personal experience with that in itself. And I guess I could even just extend that out and think, well, what is thought processes? What are your dreams? Where does any of this information come from? Where do our ideas come from? Are they experiences it is that we've seen or had in the past? Like example of something like that is, again, going back to Nassim Haramein. When I was going through my own weird moment of just having this weird mathematical realizations and fucking around with numbers in ways that you think is all hocus pocus, I randomly woke up and started designing a free energy device. Wasn't my intent, wasn't my mission. Just woke up, started doodling free energy device.
I'll tell you, there's no such thing as a free energy device. You can draw one all you want, but
I'm looking at one, Craig. What's your atoms powered by?
I'm powered by a lot of food, especially white truffles, when I can hide them from my wife.
Especially white truffles.
Yeah, white truffles on everything would be really good.
Yeah.
I like truffles. Lots of beef, occasional bits of venison, general dead animals. Sorry,
serious question, right?
That's all energy, by the way.
What keeps your atoms spinning? What powers you?
Again, there's lots of truffles, 3-star Michelin chefs, especially. I like French provincial, but Milanese type of Northern Italian's also very good. I don't mind Asian food occasionally. Indian's really good too. Chucking a pizza every now and again.
So I think we can just agree that there are things that we're not necessarily going to get the answers to. And I think a part of, for instance, I'm very much on my acknowledged journey of mastery, right? I think every human being on the planet is on a journey of self-mastery, whether they know it or not. Whether you're alcoholics sitting outside begging for change, or whether you are academically qualified professional, whether you're a monk, right? So we're all on this journey of self-mastery. One thing I find very interesting.
Although I don't know if you'd really want to master being a bum on the street and destroying sort of relationships you have with other people.
Well, that's denial of your journey, right? But you're still on it.
Well, you sort of you should be on it, but you're stepping off to the side and refusing to move.
Yeah, exactly, right? And not like dealing, growing, and experiencing, but with myself as I'm navigating and I'm learning, I had an epiphany and I thought, well, one, we all go through life as kids even talking about skeletons in our closet, right? I was like, okay, well, we've all got skeletons in our closet. Yeah, cool. We all say stuff like that. But we're the only person that can see that skeleton, right? Which means the only person it's haunting is me, right? So what's the freaking point me having a skeleton in my closet? Just get it out there, live in truth. And I started taking the concept further and really pinning things down to ultimately outer knowledge, inner knowledge, okay? Outer knowledge is something that you're clearly a master of, okay? You consume audiobooks like no one else is that I've possibly thought is possible. I think Charles broke it down to 8 books a day in audio form.
I don't know.
It's like crazy like that. You write a lot. You're clearly very academically driven, very academically involved, universities, institutions, all the rest of it. So it is, outer knowledge is the encapsulation of information from other human beings into one being, right? We're going to be regulated by time in order to do that, right? Hopefully we've got a good long lifespan. I hope we've got 100 years each.
If you're talking about postgraduate studies, I think you're getting that wrong.
No, I just talk about the concept of education, right? You're learning from another human being and you're banking the good bits in you.
You're learning from yourself and other human beings. As an example, one of the things I'm doing at the moment is a master's degree in philosophy. And although I do learn with other people in a cohort, because I don't believe we learn accurately much sitting in a cave as an aesthetic, we also have to think through ideas ourselves. So rationality and thought is undervalued now. I mean, there are a lot of people who have moved from science to scientism, and they've made this empirical sort of validation of things into what they call science when it's scientism. Most of science starts with rational thought. When Einstein created relativity and general relativity, special relativity, etc., even Brownian motion theorems, he didn't do it through experiment. He did it in his brain. But he learnt through other people. So he was an academic. He actually did the thing that got him a Nobel Prize while he was in university doing his PhD.
You're putting the horse before the cart. I agree. Because the second aspect is inner knowledge, right? That's inner discernment. It's your own thought process, your own perspective, your own experience, right? And I, for the last 2 years, have been strictly, almost 100% strictly, I'll say realistically about 90%, on an inner knowledge journey. I've stopped reading. I used to read insanely. Nowhere near as crazy as you, but not that far off. I always had things I was listening to. It was always, because in fact, the last time you came down to the office, I was in that mode. Right?
I will actually tell you that can be dangerous because you end up making mistakes that you shouldn't make. The reason you want to, this is where your word community. So a part of why I'm always involved with universities is peer groups. I won't say community as you do, but some people will. I'll say peer groups. There are people to pull me up and tell me what is dumb. And I come up with some dumb ideas at times. Everyone does. I take things that I don't think through everything all the time. And sometimes you need an external person to pull you up and slap you on the back of the head when you're going down the wrong way.
Absolutely.
It's not literal, but figuratively, yes. So you need people who've already thought through things, and you may completely disagree with them. I've had professors who completely disagree with everything I say. Lots and lots of them, especially in some of the more woke universities I've been to. Like I actually started a whole series of posts and everything associated with sort of human rights to do with imperialism. And my argument is, what's wrong with imperialism? And I keep bringing that one up because everyone in the classes go, oh, it's wrong, it's imperial, it's building empire, it's this, that, and the other, and you're forcing your culture on that. And my argument is, why is that necessarily bad? So yes, there are examples of bad imperialists. Hitler was a bad imperialist. The Belgian king was a bad imperialist. But some of the concepts of like the British Empire were good. And this one's not popular. But the reason we don't have slavery in this world is because the Brits stopped it. Not the Americans, not anything else. The Americans stopped it after they had enough economic force, which was because British gunships stopped it. And British gunships stopped outside of the Turkish Empire and the Ottomans and said, stop it. And British gunships stopped it for all sorts of different people. And one of the reasons that there was actually a big fight with Napoleon was in somewhere between 1807 and 1811. I have to double check my exact. In the Napoleonic Code, Napoleon reintroduced slavery as a concept in France, and especially in the Indies. And that was one of the things that actually tipped the British to go to war and not remain isolationist, because the British were already sending ships out there and sinking people who were after taking the slaves off. So all this Black Lives Matter stuff and everything like that, and anti-British things. The thing to remember is every single country on earth had slaves.
I'm going to say this directly to the camera, and people could check my Instagram on this. BLM's bullshit. I spoke out so fucking aggressively on BLM for a variety of reasons.
I will sit there and say lives matter. And it doesn't matter whether you're black or white or green or yellow. Hopefully you're not green, because that generally means you're sick. But right now, there are Welsh and Irish and Scottish kids who are the poorest in this nation. And they're white. And for every poor black kid, there's 10 white kids. How about and for every rich, privileged black guy, there are multiple poor white guys. So how about we start focusing on the real problem, which is poverty, and we stop institutionalizing poverty, and we take people in Coventry and Sheffield and sort of other areas in this country, and other areas around the world, and we teach them that they can do more than be poor.
Because if we had a genuinely, truly capitalist society, right? If we lived in real capitalism.
Well, then most people don't understand it. We actually, crony capitalism, all these other things people talk about are mercantilism. Adam Smith, when he described capitalism, was doing it following moral sentiments. So the concept of capitalism that we talk about now in the big bad companies, Adam Smith talked about that. He said, if you get two merchants together, two business people, the first thing they're going to do is start colluding. So capitalism isn't this completely free market with no regulations and no rules. Never was. That is it's cherry picking arguments.
That's not my view on it. It doesn't need to be.
Well, the whole aspect of what capitalism is the opposite of mercantilism. And the mercantilist system that Smith was arguing against is the one that most large banks and Silicon Valley and all these other large players keep wanting. It's the one, if I was incredibly smart in a different way, I would be grasping right now. Because as someone who is wealthy with a large company, it is the perfect way to make sure I keep the hierarchy, the oligarchy. So stop competition, freeze things as they are now. So if I was truly aligned to the outcomes of making money alone and not my other wacky ideas about fair competition, like things like conscientious capitalism, some people call it now, then I would actually have to reject some of my ideas and go off and just see how big I can get. And that's not actually what capitalism is about. The nature of protectionism, of how rules are made there, that's mercantilist.
What do you think it would take to bring Bitcoin to voting systems, political voting systems? So what we saw last year in the US, irrespective of Trump or Biden, but just
so that's not a Bitcoin issue.
I know it's not a Bitcoin issue, but how do we get it in there?
Well, again, you have to build the voting system first. So the record of the vote, that can be done on Bitcoin. That can be done any time. But that's not the issue. That's not the hard part.
I don't think this is a technical thing. I'm asking you as a human thing.
It's a really difficult thing. And I can speak from experience. I worked on a technical basis with the New South Wales Electoral Commission in Australia and helped build the iVote system and audited that and reviewed that and checked all the architecture and design and et cetera. And it's a hard question. It's not so easy like people seem to think. And I believe what we did in iVote was very good, but scaling it is the difficult part. So the iVote solution worked in small scale, but getting it out to everyone in a country is a different matter. And identifying people is the hard aspect. How do you, even if you have an identity card, how do you prove that that person is the one voting? Sitting at home voting, you can sell your vote.
But I can do $1 billion transaction on my phone, right? With my fingerprint and my Face ID. Why can't these things be paired in?
Because you can sell your vote. As long as we find that to be abhorrent and that someone can buy your vote.
So by someone buy your vote, you're saying someone runs like some form of campaign that says, I'll incentivize you to vote this particular way. Oh, you're talking about...
I even give you my right to vote by login. How do you stop that? If you're going to vote from home, how do you know that someone's not giving their vote to another person?
Well, wouldn't you just utilize your camera and factor that in? So you actually physically have to have your camera on. It's my face. All this facial recognition for everything else. Mm-hmm. Why not use facial recognition in order to validate my vote?
Have you looked at things like Pt.2? I use them all the time because I do too many courses and they're horrible. They make you close down everything. It's a single window And you can still get around it if you wanted to, because you could actually, no one seems to realize that if you plugged in 2 mice and 2 screens, which with old-fashioned splitter, everyone thinks no one would do that now because no one buys, they're all software. Buy a hardware splitter and you can have the other screen, and they could check and go, there's only 1 screen, but there might be 2. Not that I do that, because I'm not going to get my kids to do my exams for me, because I don't want to fail. My kids aren't doing master's degrees yet. That wouldn't be a good thing. So how do you know?
Do you see this as a challenge that will be taken up by nChain anytime soon? Or have you ever had conversations with governments about how Bitcoin as a validation ledger, stamping ledger, a place of recording?
We need a lot to be built first. Yes, there are things I've got in the long-term plan for this. I want to see identity systems, but that's a fine line and a balancing point, because you don't want to create an identity system that is Orwellian in nature, that tracks everything you do. And that could be an outcome.
I see there's a lot of possibility of Orwellian natured things with Bitcoin.
So we've already got that. It's called Facebook.
On the subject of Facebook, I know you're more like structured in your thinking, but there's an article, wired.com, February the 4th, 2004.
I don't read Wired, so
I don't either, but this
so
article,
telling me the date.
I definitely recommend you check it out, because it was a post about a project from DARPA called LifeLog. Okay, and this LifeLog project, Wired announced DARPA has shut down the LifeLog project. LifeLog project was a way of tracking someone's whereabouts, status, relationship status, photos, history.
I know what that is, but that's bad reporting. So that's not a DARPA project. It was, I can't remember if he's a Berkeley professor, I think, but for years he was recording all of his movements. He had augmented reality systems to do all sorts of things.
But reason is important, though, is that February 4th, okay, destruction creation, right, symbols. Facebook incorporated the same day, and it does the same freaking thing. It just sounds to me that we had a government project,
but it wasn't a government project. Okay, so DARPA is a funding agency. They fund everything. So all you have is a professor who did a project and got funding.
Yeah, but to me, it still doesn't sound like Mark Zuckerberg cooked up the code.
But that wasn't anything particularly new. I mean, the nature of that's not an unexpected innovation. I mean, there are predictable and unpredictable innovations. And this is where people go wrong. They just hear the word innovation and they think one way or the other, but they're different things. So Facebook is an evolution of other systems. There were lots of them around.
I remember the early days. Even I had a spec for one of them. Didn't have no money or coding ability. A little bit of money, but no coding ability now. So I could have even had a Facebook competitor out there.
Yeah. He was just lucky at the time, in part because of his background with Harvard. If he had not had that, then he wouldn't have had the prestige that was associated with, first of all, Ivy League universities and being a member of those. And then
that was, yeah.
That is the real thing that launched them. No one likes to talk about that, but Facebook is launched because Zuckerberg went to Harvard.
I think he was chosen for that fact. But that's my conspiracy hat on.
Sorry, I don't do the conspiracies. That gives people too much sort of control and intelligence. And I don't think there's enough real intelligence out there to have any real conspiracies. I mean, I've done lots of government work before, and
I got to be honest with you, Craig. I don't know if this is like a deflection thing and you're playing like smart, you're playing it coy, or like you really do genuinely have that view. But if you do genuinely have that view, I think it's dangerous for you. I'm gonna go off the basis that you don't really have that. You just played it cool for the fucking cameras, and you see the world for the dodgy shit that we've got going on.
I see lots of dodgy shit. I don't think it's coordinated dodgy shit. See, what you don't seem to understand is a lot of random processes can actually come together. So it doesn't mean there's a coordination. The same way that you have.
I appreciate that. I
mean, I studied swarm technology for ages, and fish. There's no controlling mind in a swarm of fish swimming through the ocean. All those shoals, they seem to move as if something happens, but they're not. They're small algorithms that this fish notices, that fish notices, etc., and they just follow. Conversely, if one of the fish is broken and it doesn't follow that same algorithm, then it gets eaten. So genetically,
fall in line.
There's less. The fish genetically fall into a specified algorithmic series because the fish who don't do it don't breed.
So you don't think there's individuality in the hive mind of the cosmos?
I don't think the cosmos has a hive mind.
And we'll conclude it on that right there. Let's do the questions, because I've been getting the signs from the team, and I only asked one about Pokemon, and then we just went off segway again. So let me pluck out some good ones. Okay, so this is from Todd Fall 400777755. Hi Craig, can you extrapolate on why you think Republic is the best form of political system, and how BSV will help these systems come about?
That's actually a very large question that I'll try and put in a short answer. So Republic is a balance of different aspects of different government forms. Now, demagoguery or pure democracy only works on very small scales, and even then it falls apart. It is too easy for someone to move the masses, so to speak. There are too many people who won't think through their decisions or will take the short-term bad choice. And it's also important to balance multiple aspects of society, not just the people, but also the businesses and the invested capital and other institutions. So I know this seems to be anti many of the things we're doing in our sort of push towards radical democracy in this world. But the concept of a republic was to balance the masses against the aristocratic forces, the capital forces, the companies, the things that invest in society. And if you don't do that, then you end up tearing them down. It's like most revolutions where they destroy the very thing they want to take. So we need to build capital, because capital makes society wealthier. And going, that guy has more than me. Well, work harder, work more, find something. I mean, I came from, shit poor, white trash type, middle of nowhere. Luckily had a mother who worked really hard type environment. So I was luckier than many people in where I grew up because my mother worked hard and I got to see that.
And it's great for your kids because you work ridiculously hard. You've cracked the financial nugget, but they've seen you work your ass off.
So the grandchildren are fucked.
Yeah, basically. So you got to make sure your kids, make sure their kids keep that same flow going. Okay, last one I'll ask you. I actually saved this one. I sewed into it a little bit in our conversation. But from Frogology, does Craig think that he has gone through the hero's journey during your years in Bitcoin?
So it depends on what you classify as a hero's journey. If you're going to look at the Greco-Roman mythology versus maybe a early medieval concept of hero versus a Victorian. So I have to put my literary scholar hat on here and say,
I think you can liken it to any major movie, right? Where everyone follows this thread. So Luke Skywalker, right? The depiction of Skywalker, that is the hero's journey.
No,
right?
He's not a hero. He's a terrorist.
Okay.
I mean, you have the Empire there. Everyone goes, oh, they're bad. But if you think about it for a moment, I mean, Darth Vader sitting there going, he's going, look, I could kill you any time, but I'm just going to wave my sword around, stopping you to show how much I'm better than you, and you're going to dance around. Look, you've got highly trained clone warriors. They're firing warning shots because they never hit them. Whereas Luke comes out there and shoots someone.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's the bad guy.
Exactly. So Luke runs out there and just shoots everyone. And what are the Empire doing? They're building trade alliances. I mean, if you go back to the thing, it was the trade alliance. The trade alliance are the bad guys who became the Empire. Well,
so you
they're capitalists, evil
the
capitalists.
Rebellion as, I guess, the BTC space, right? The anarchists who are
No, I see them as
against
the
the
Che
establishment.
Guevara types who go out there and go evil capitalists and bring down the country and ruin everyone's lives.
All right, back to hero's journey then. So it's not Luke Skywalker. Do you feel you've experienced going through?
Oh, and I don't want to do it with my sister either. Sorry, Luke.
That is a fair point. That is a fair point.
I mean, the guy's sick. Think about it.
Do you know what? I've got a very different view of Star Wars now. Fucking hell.
It's a long-term journey. And yes, there are lots of people that attack me. So there's a difference between heroic, though. I'm not out there getting shot at. I'm not doing any of this stuff. And though it's not popular, some of the people who went to Afghanistan were heroic. I know everyone says we should be out of there. But think about this. You now have 20 years in, and you have a population that has radically changed. You have women, thousands of women who've come from not being able to work to now being teachers, to teaching the next generation. And you're handing it back to the Taliban, the people that we went in there to stop. What do you think is going to happen with those women?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a country that believes in, a group, the Taliban, that believes in stoning, public hangings. They believe that if a woman works, she's evil. Apostrophe, the only answer for apostrophe is death. I mean, really, we have obligations. You can say evil imperialists and whatever else. What about the obligations to our fellow human?
Yeah.
And this is not the Taliban who's voted in there democratically. The current government is. So the majority doesn't want the Taliban. And we're going, oh, it's too hard. Well, how about as the hegemonic powers, we have an obligation?
I agree with that. And I think on that point, it's a great place to end. Craig, thank you very much for coming down yet again and doing it in person, right? I was hoping, to be fair, based on like some of the conversations we had.
Yeah, well, it works better than Zoom. I mean, there's always, you can't even tell when things are screwing up on Zoom. And I had too many things where the microphone's saying that it's working and it hasn't, and you just don't even know. I mean,
to be fair, I was half expecting you to come down. You've regrown your beard. You got your grown out lockdown hair. Might even had you a t-shirt and shorts, but you still put on a three-piece. I just much appreciate it, mate. Dude, thank you so much. And just thank you for even allowing us to be here doing what it is that we're doing. It's due to the efforts and your monolith that you whacked down on planet Earth.
I'm not allowing you. I'm not stopping you. It's I'm just creating an environment, and it's up to you to do it yourself.
I'm going to take on that challenge, and my Tesla-like ways, I believe, will supersede some of the holes in your Edison thinking, right? And we're going to bring that and keep on bringing that flavor. And there's loads of people who are doing quite interesting stuff that I would love to see somehow impact Bitcoin in some way. And also just to kind of get a little notch up on, there is some validity behind this different, more alternative way of looking at things that maybe even you one day may find impressive, and you might drop your adulation for Edison and switch to the Tesla side, which you think is the dark side. But all jokes aside, Craig, Really appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for
You're
coming
welcome.
down. And as always, guys, nothing really else to say apart from peace, love, and light. All the best. Take care. Hello, beautiful people. Well, you made it. It's the end of part 2, which concludes the second conversation we've had with Satoshi Nakamoto or Dr. Craig Wright. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, and check out part 1 if you somehow got to part 2 before part 1. And go and check out the first conversation that we done with Craig 2.5 years ago. And as always, peace, love, and light. Till next time.